Government use of a GPS tracking device without a warrant. Should it be legal or illegal? In 2010, the U.S. Court of Appeals heard the case of United States versus Pineda-Moreno.
We're going to catch us some terrorists today, meth head terrorists. I sure don't like them terrorists. We're going to plan on putting a GPS device on these terrorist cars because we're going to see where they're traveling to. We have a fancy new GPS searching device right here, this fancy computer. We're going to stick this in their car. We don't need a warrant. We're just going to put this on there without a warrant. I want to know what they're doing. Fourth Amendment's dead. We don't need a warrant. Fourth Amendment's dead. Yeah! All right, let's go get these guys right here. Now we're pulling up on a suspect's house right now. See over here, right here?
The major issue in this case is should the government be allowed to sneak onto your property to place a GPS tracking device on your car without a warrant.
A federal court in California has issued a ruling that's raising widespread alarm among advocates for civil liberties. Earlier this month, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit said law enforcement agents can sneak onto a person's property, plant a GPS device on their vehicle, and track their every movement.
Citing the case United States versus Magana, the U.S. Court of Appeals argued against Moreno, saying that a person's driveway is only considered a semi-private area. The U.S. Court of Appeals more recently held in the Maisano v. Welcher case that in order to determine if a person has a reasonable expectation of privacy in a driveway, one must look at the specific features of the driveway such as enclosures, barriers, lack of visibility from the street, no trespassing signs, or the nature of activities performed on it. In this case, Pineda-Moreno articulated no such features of his driveway. The U.S. Court of Appeals used the case United States v. Knotts to argue its final point. In Knotts, the police attached a beeper tracking device to Knotts' car where they could track his movements on public roads. The court stated that the GPS tracking device is very similar to the beeper tracking device used in the 1980s. Because it tracks movement on public roads, the court argued that police can track you on public roads without creating an invasion of privacy, so the GPS tracking device works in the same manner.
Dissent, Chief Judge Alex Kozinski accused the majority of, quote, cultural elitism for issuing a ruling he said would only affect lower-income Americans. Kozinski says anyone who can afford to surround their home with security gates, fences, and booths would effectively be exempt.
The Court of Appeals has ruled against Pineda-Moreno, and the decision will become valid in California as well as 8 other western states. On the other side of the country, the Court of Appeals in the District of Columbia has ruled the attaching of GPS devices to be illegal. As more and more of these issues arise, the closer the issue comes to be in need of review by the Supreme Court. Although not having reached that level just yet, the Obama administration is trying to sway the Supreme Court to oppose the need for a warrant for the attachment of GPS devices to people's cars. So now we must ask ourselves one thing. Is the increased level of warrantless surveillance going to be worth our invasion of privacy? Current research of camera surveillance done by students at UC Berkeley and USC show that in the studies conducted in San Francisco and Los Angeles, there have been little to no impact on crime. These studies were based off of similar studies that were held in the United Kingdom. For the record, the United Kingdom is one of the most surveilled countries in the world, containing 1 video camera for every 14 citizens, and even in the UK, the video cameras had little to no effect on the rates of violent or non-violent crimes. As a group, we decided that there is not enough information on surveillance to prove that warrantless surveillance of our movements is necessary. We have come to the conclusion that a warrant should be required to both sneak onto someone's property as well as to place a GPS tracking device on the property owner's vehicle. Without a warrant, we feel that any evidence submitted to the court should be deemed inadmissible. Now it's your turn to tell us how you feel about the subject.